Amazon beats and has been down now, but now up in the after hours as it also lost market share in cloud services. But we'll dig deeper into that. Ford misses and gets throttled. What impact will the new pay package really have on Ford? Tesla continues to follow the NASDAQ as it has all week, and the NASDAQ was headed lower all day today, but then it's up in the after hours. We'll jump on that at the very end of the show today. And then finally, will the CPE change the tone tomorrow? Boy, that'll be an exciting thing. I can't hardly wait. You know me, though. I get all excited about these things. All right, this is Randy Kirk. This will be the new format for my pre-market show, which still needs a name. What should I call it? Anyway, it'll be very similar to the After the Bell show that I do in the morning, where we look at Tesla fundamentals, Tesla news, Elon Musk and all the news around him, Tesla stock, economic fundamentals, the stock market, and how all of those impact Tesla. It's our goal to have a co-host each afternoon, or whether you call it afternoon or evening, but the show will come out at about 5:30 California time is when you'll be able to see it. Maybe a little earlier. We'll see how quickly we can get it up. Anyway, that's what the show is going to be. This is not a news show. None of my shows are news shows. I'm perfectly happy to have Dylan Loomis be the guy when it comes to news. If you want to see the little news of, about what's happening with wheel covers and what's happening with, some kind of a new seat cover and stuff, I'm not terribly interested in those little details every day. That's just not what I do. What I'm looking to do is pull together all this macro and all this as much micro as I think is important, and provide you, the audience, with an analysis of where things are headed. Anyway, so we will still have a news show on Saturday, but even then, I don't get into this detail, even on the Saturday news show. But I do the Saturday news show because nobody else does, okay? And so that'll continue to be on Saturday afternoon. All right, let's see. What else is there to say here? If you missed the show earlier today, I did an episode you need to see where I show the whole Tesla's business strategy all coming together in 2026. And I'll leave a card about that later, unless I forget, but I'll try to remember at the end. I've been saying for a year now, well, I did forget one more thing, join Patreon and buy a Tesla bottle opener, a Cybertruck bottle opener. All right, I'm going to start with Hyundai Kia right now. I have been saying, actually, ever since we published the book, I've been saying that Hyundai Kia has a real shot at being the number 3 automaker in 2030 when everything is said and done and all the shifting has taken place. Now, here's an update on their huge new U.S. factory. On the 1-year anniversary of breaking ground on its first EV assembly and battery plant in the U.S., Hyundai announced significant progress on this site. They began construction on this $5.5 billion electric vehicle and battery plant in Bryan County, Georgia on October 25th, 2022. Exactly a year later, Hyundai says 99% of all the foundation work is already complete. Okay, now, just a couple of thoughts here. 5.5 billion. I hope that is going to build a bunch of cars and batteries, because if that was Tesla, that 5.5 billion would be building a whole bunch of stuff. Number two, notice it's a year later and they've just got the foundations in. So you see, we still know that Tesla builds at the speed of Tesla. Anyway, but Hyundai, I think these are guys you got to watch. All right. So after the horrific news regarding General Motors, Ford, BMW, and Mercedes, who do you think is still in the running for number 3 other than Hyundai Kia? Volkswagen? Stellantis? Who else is going to protect? It's not going to be Toyota. So who do you think would be number 3 if it's not Hyundai Kia? I've got other potential folks in the running, but number 1 is going to be Tesla. Number 2 is going to be BYD. Who's going to be number 3? Ford's horrendous news today, in addition to all the horrendous news all week, includes a beat on the top line, but a miss on the bottom line. And then it followed GM's lead from the other day, and they pulled guidance. They didn't give any guidance for the rest of this year, much less 2024. So their top line revenue was 43.8 billion, and they were only expected to do 41.2. That's like an 11% improvement from a year ago, but a dip from last quarter. Ford posted adjusted earnings of only 39 cents versus 47 estimated, and an adjusted EBITDA of 2.2. Ford separated out their EV business. As you know, you may know they've been doing this. And they said the revenue from the EV business was 1.8 billion versus a 2.34 billion estimate. They missed by a lot. Their loss on that was 1.3 billion versus 1.33 billion versus an estimate of 1.27 billion. And Yahoo Finance had this to say: for its Model E EV business, Ford said the loss in the business was attributable to investments in next-gen vehicles. Many North American customers interested in buying EVs are unwilling to pay premiums for them over gas or hybrid vehicles, sharply compressing EV prices and profitability, the company said in a statement. Ford projected a $4.5 billion loss for the unit in 2023 last quarter, but did not update this projection in the statement today. The overall cost of their UAW agreement, which is still needing to be ratified by members, is estimated to be $6.2 billion over the term of the deal, according to Deutsche Bank. And Ford said that it will add $800 to $900 to the cost of each car. Well, Ford says because of that, we're going to postpone about $12 billion in EV investment as buyers become more cautious. Ford said they will do everything possible to find efficiencies that will make up for that $800 to $900 per car difference. But of course, if those efficiencies were possible to make, they would have already, Anyway. Well, then we had Amazon. They came out with their news and they were up early because their beat was impressive. But then they missed on cloud growth and their guidance was not quite what everybody was looking for. And that wiped out any gains. And they were down in the after hours after being down earlier today. And then all of a sudden, Amazon, well, the whole stock market came back in the after hours. And so Amazon came back into the green last time I checked. So investors seem a little unclear right now about the Amazon results, except they definitely were not thrilled. MarketWatch says about bonds today, the Treasury sale of the 7-year notes Thursday afternoon was solid, adding to the bullishness seen throughout the day, according to BMO capital market strategist Ben Jeffrey. The auction results extended the rally in government debt that began earlier in the day and sent yields towards intraday lows. So after going down 10 or 11 basis points earlier in the week and then jumping up 11 basis points yesterday, we dropped off the 11 basis points today. Anyway, we've been all over the place all week. This is kind of weird for the bond market to be jumping around this much. However, we'll take a look in a minute. They were creeping back up like 1 basis point the last time I checked. Hertz has slowed their EV effort due to Tesla lowering prices. Okay, listen to that again. Hertz has slowed their EV effort due to Tesla lowering prices. Okay, let's first things first. You would think that as Tesla lowers their prices, that would be a good reason for Hertz to come in and buy more, if they can buy them for less. So number one, that's a little confusing. Car rental companies turn their cars really quickly. This is me talking now. I actually owned a car rental company for a while. So the car rental companies turn the cars really quickly. They buy them and then at about 70, 80,000 miles, they sell them. And so the value of the used vehicle is a big part of their profit plan. They're intending to turn those around and sell them for a profit compared to their use that they got out of them. So they also found that they had higher damage and repair costs than planned. According to CNBC, Hertz Global Chief Executive Officer Stephen Scherr said Hertz is still committed to buying the 100,000 cars from Tesla and 175,000 cars from General Motors. General Motors isn't making any cars. What are they going to buy from General Motors? Okay, I'm sorry. Anyway, but is not on target to have EVs represent a quarter of its fleet by 2024, as it had previously hoped. Our focus and our work with Tesla is to look at the performance of the car so as to lower the risk of incidents of damage, Sure said. And we're in a very direct agreement with them on parts procurement and labor and the like. So now I'm trying to figure out if they have smart folks over at Hertz who figured out that the supply chain issues were the cost of the rapid increase last year in the price of Tesla cars, and therefore the resulting decrease is because everything's back in supply, the supply chains are normal, and Tesla has been able to become much more effective at producing the cars. So wouldn't they also start to believe that right now they're unlikely to continue to go down dramatically in the future months? So I'm not sure why they've stopped buying the cars. They can buy them cheaper, and they're probably going to do just fine with the resale. They should also know that the parts and even labor was higher last year because of all the problems. And therefore, those issues would be going away. Also, I'm really confused, but hey, listen, Hertz, big company. Janet Yellen said this in Barron's today. Yellen acknowledged on Thursday she doesn't expect growth to continue at the red-hot pace of the third quarter. Nobody does. I'm glad, Janet, that you think that. She does expect it will remain strong. However, forecasting it could land at roughly 2.5 for this year average. That would be above the 2% average rate for the 2010s and well above the 0.5% growth for the year the Fed was originally forecasting back in December of last year. They thought that this year we would only see 0.5% growth for the year. I'm glad those guys are really good at their forecasting. And anyway, for now, at least, you don't really see, she says, for now, at least, you don't really see any signs of recession. She added, she continues to believe it will be possible to bring inflation down even as the labor market remains strong. Now, I didn't agree with anything Janet Yellen said when she was actually the Treasury Secretary, but boy, I sure agree with her now. She agrees with me. She's been watching the channel. Let's take a quick look at the aftermarket and the pre-markets. Let's wait for 1 second before I do this. I'm recording the show at 4:35 California time. I am doing that so we can see how the bonds are doing. Waiting till 4:30 California time so I can wait 5 minutes, see how the bonds are doing, and then we'll take a look. We'll be able to really analyze everything about how the evening is progressing, and that'll give us some indications of what to expect for tomorrow. With the really, really important PCE coming out in the AM, the swinging in the bonds and in the overall markets is much more than what you normally see in the after hours and pre-market. So let's go ahead and take a look here. We have got Tesla up 1.21%, so up about $2 and change. I don't know, do you want me to look at the other ones? I will look at Amazon just for fun. It's up 5% in the after hours. So you see, it is having that situation that I talked about where it was up and it was down and now it's up again. But because the market is up, it is doing well in the after hours. Now we want to go in and we want to see where those bonds are and oil, etc. Let's take a quick look. Okay, where are we sitting? First of all, the Dow is up 96 points. S&Ps are up 21 and the NASDAQ futures are up 114. That's about 0.81%. So the NASDAQ is outperforming the Dow and the S&P as it has been all year. Okay, now we're going to go to the Bitcoins are sitting right around 34,000 if you care. And then the dollar is still doing just fine, thank you. Gold is down still sitting really close to 2,000. And oil is down barely in the after hours. It is still sitting around in the low 80s, $83.58 for Texas Intermediate. Okay, bonds, we are up less than a basis point. We're still sitting well below 4.9. If we get that beat tomorrow, I'm hoping the inflation numbers come in really good. And you know what that means? That means low. If we get that, I think there's more money than people think that's going to jump into this bond market and try to grab onto these yields. And so we could see the bonds dropping another 10 or even 20 basis points tomorrow if we get what we're hoping for. All right, I think we will tomorrow. Okay, you want to make sure you see this. I'm going to be putting up a video midday that's going to go into 10 ways that the new BP announcement with regard to buying $100 million worth of Tesla superchargers is going to impact Tesla in a positive way. You might have seen a couple of stories already today with Larry Goldberg and others talking about this decision. I mean, I talked about it first thing this morning, but some people have talked about some benefits to this that are not just the straightforward stuff, but nobody is going to go into the depth. Of course, then I'm going to go into it tomorrow around the noon hour. And then tomorrow night, of course, we're going to have the Good News Show with Larry Goldberg. And then that's going to continue on Friday like normal. So you want to hit like, subscribe, notify, and then immediately go down to the description, find that Patreon button, and then push it. Okay, that's what you need to do. This is the last thing I'm going to tell you today. Yeah, I want you to buy some Cybertruck bottle openers too. But what I really want you to do is I want you to go down and I want you to push the button where it says Patreon down in the description, and boom, and you'll be right over there onto Patreon, go through the process, and then decide whether you want what you're going to take a 7-day trial to see whether you like getting those news broadcasts all day long. And then at the end of 7 days, you'll make a decision at the $5 level or the $10 level, and then you might get a Cybertruck bottle opener for free. All right? Would you do that for me? If you can afford it. If you can't afford it, don't do it. But if you can afford it, would you do that for me? It'd be a real plus. Become a producer. Help the show. Okay. That's it. See you in the morning. It's been great talking to you.